I want to talk about the Oura Ring today. I, at first, was a little bit skeptical around the Oura Ring and the way that it tracks my kind of biometrics and my health with FND. Because FND is so volatile and is triggered by many different things, and symptoms are different for everyone, I thought that the Oura Ring was quite basic. Not basic in way of capability, but certainly for catering for people with a brain disorder, such as myself with FND, or those kinds of conditions. But I have actually been super surprised. Not only have I been kind of tracking my health by way of heart, making sure that I'm walking, particularly because I work from home and I sit a large portion of the day, I've really tried to make effort in doing a certain number of steps or activities through the day to make sure that I am moving, because that mobility and exercise, like honestly, I really have felt that that's made a huge difference with the FND and being able to be kind of mentally present as well as physically present. And it really does make a huge difference. Even getting out into the environment like this, it's such a different energy kind of enhancer for me now than what it used to be. It's amazing how much of a difference it actually makes if I'm doing any sort of training or I'm going out for a walk with my micro. And then the Oura Ring has been fantastic. And of course, you've got the app on my phone, which then I'm able to track, when I need to. But what I also found, and I'll definitely share some visuals so that you can see the kind of information, there you go, information that you get with the Oura Ring. And look, this is not a paid promotion by all means. And you might be trying to use the Google Fitbit. You might be trying to use the Whoop, which I have tried, which was a bit intense for my liking. There are many different options. But what it is a good way for you to be able to start to tap into what a lot of the studies have said around FND, around the biometrics, and starting to capture those and track those and seeing when you get a flare up, how that impacts you. And you can see here, or you probably can't see here, you can see the way the app is, and I'm pretty sure you can custom it. And look, sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming because it makes you or asks you to kind of track the activities, but that's quite easy to kind of log that information and once you set it up. But what I really like about it, it is kind of gives you a readiness score for the day. So if it's thinking that I've got a readiness low, which means that I should be I've got enough energy and stamina based on what it can see, and it's sitting high, well then, regardless of the FND, I think, okay, I've got a good crack at today. I should have enough energy. And then you've got the sleep metric. It also does a sleep metric for you where it kind of calculates out of 100 what your kind of readiness is. It's all about doing a bit of a benchmark for you for that day. And again, if it kind of starts to see and map out your sleep. And again, I, like many I've found, have issues with their sleep. And sleep, it's not about not sleeping well necessarily. It's about having these kind of jerks, movements, seizure kind of activity during the night that is equally disturbing your sleep or not allowing you to get that real deep sleep that we all need. It is able to track your breathing. It's able to track your vitals, such as your heart rate, which is really fascinating. And then it starts to flag things with you, which personally I found really interest. Again, I learned with the Whoop, which literally drowned me in data, that you don't necessarily need to take every single element. What you do is you use it to give you a bit of an overview of how this technology is tracking your body. And of course, it's got all the smarts that have been built into the technology with the Oura, the Whoop, and like I said, many of these others. My hubby's got the Google Fitbit, and that's really reasonable, and he's really happy with that one. I'm maybe thinking of going over there because it's so much cheaper, but I've invested now, so I've got to suck it up with my Oura Ring. It also gives you kind of activity. You can track other things on there as well and set flags for when you're doing them. And then it gives you insights. It actually gives you insights around, your stress levels for the day. That's always funny when I'm reading my stress levels for the day and it's saying, yep, you've peaked like a zillion times today. I think you need to take some time out. I'm like, I wish I could. And what I also like about it is that you can start to do things like when I'm doing my travels, I can actually tag the day that I'm traveling, and it will give me insights of other information that it might have around people that are doing travel, and kind of what things I should look at, like keeping hydrated, making sure I'm getting enough rest when I can. So it gives you it's like your little health buddy, which is why I like it. And it gives you those kind of insights, and it helps do the hard work for you. And it gives you kind of overview of not just the day, but then it looks at like a month, it looks at like a couple of months, it looks at a date range. So you can start to see if your health is deteriorating. Again, caveat, when you have FND, things can be all over the shop. But what I find by tracking your health, you start to focus back in on yourself. With FND, I've never been so in tune to my body in my whole life. You just have to be. And I find sometimes it can be really challenging keeping a track of all of this stuff and having to make sure that you're remembering things. This is the Oura app example. There is Google options. There are other options that are out there that are cheaper, more suitable, easier to use. Again, what I'm trying to cover today is the benefit that I found by having some sort of tracker where I'm able to kind of keep a log of my activities that I'm doing, my heart rate, my steps, kind of looking at my sleep patterns, looking at my energy, my stress levels, reminding me that I do need to be focused on things here and there. But one of the things that I started talking about at the start, which was certainly one of my favorites, and one of the benefits that I found, is you can actually use the AI that I was talking. I know I segued a little bit away, but they actually have this ability to ask advisor. And this is where I was able to go in and say, well, I have functional neurological disorder. What are my stats for the last 3 months look like that I should be concerned about, that I should be happy about? What are some areas I can focus? And the brilliant thing is it's able to factor in what it knows around functional neurological disorder, and then look at my data that it has for the last several months and be able to assess it and provide general guidance. Look, I'm not going to say this is going to replace your neurologist, by no way. It's not going to replace your neuro physio. It's not going to replace the multidisciplinary support that you have, but it is a starting point that we can start focusing back on our health and have something that is able to have some smarts behind it, have some insights. Look, I do a lot of research, but it's still really hard for me to take all of that information in and apply it to my daily life. What I try and do is do micro habits. Atomic Habits is kind of this famous book that everyone kind of learnt from, by way of, you don't have to feel that you need to take on everything at once. Doing small steps at a time, maybe looking at changing your breakfast, and then starting from there. If you want to look at ways to improve your diet, to incorporate healthier options, or more, my less, more focused around FODMAP, which is for irritable bowel. It's a kind of a diet. It's pretty intense, so you can take bits and pieces out of it. But FODMAP is a great kind of diet process that has really hugely helped with my irritable bowel syndrome since having FND and symptoms associated. And that really opened my eyes to the impact of food. Same with fitness. You know, one would think I would be even more tired after a full day of work and to exercise. But some days I go for a wonderful walk, and honestly, it's revitalizing. I'm not saying intense jog, but having that kind of exposure out in the fresh air into even the wilderness like this morning. And then if you go into the bottom right-hand corner, what you can actually do is you can add like their quick links that you have. Actually, it wasn't the top right-hand corner, but there is an opportunity for you to actually go in there. And you've actually, the other thing that I didn't talk about was the reports it has and trends. So it already does reports and kind of trends on your activity, which again, if you're not very savvy in what you need to type out for the kind of questions to get the right analysis because of your FND or just health in general, their reports are actually quite good. And so I've done that, but then you can, and so it will actually show me reports and areas that I should be focusing in on, or things that it sees can be a little bit concerning and I should be looking into. And then you also have, like I said, sorry, I've now got my Kronsky on my lip because he is being a little bit cheeky. Then you do have things such as, oh my God, there's a whole host of stuff. You can even capture your meals in here. Again, some people find this also a helpful opportunity. I certainly have found eating better makes a huge difference. Just general health improvements around getting out more, eating better. Look, we still eat out a lot. But what I do is I try and make sure that what I am eating is a better alternative than, you know, having pizza every night or having more heavier foods. I have irritable bowel syndrome as well since FND, so certainly, you know, gluten and lactose and all that other goodness of being better with my health makes a huge difference to how I'm feeling. And also, I think, you know, I think it improves the ability of how I work as well. Like, you know, how I'm able to get up in the morning. Am I sluggish? Am I not? And removing things like I'm definitely not drinking as much or at all anymore. And, you know, that's for a few reasons, but it's, you know, it's not something that I had historically done. And again, these things, little by little, it didn't happen overnight. But these are the things that as well that you can actually do on the app. And I'm always talking about meditation. Meditation, you don't have to do massive amounts. Like honestly, meditation can be done 2, 3, up to 10 minutes every day. And that is loads. If you did 2 minutes every day of meditation, and by meditation I mean there's lots of them on the app as well. There's lots of free meditation. I found out at work on our Microsoft Office there's even a meditation capability to take breaks throughout the day, which you can apply. So when you have a bio tracker or like a fitness tracker or any sort of tracking mechanism that you're using to see how, you know, you're keeping up with things, I think this is really helpful, and it really supports other journals or FND specific, like the Neurolog, for example, is a great example. You know, being able to maybe use the data that you have in here and then be able to input it there more accurately than, like, you know, saying, oh, I felt my heart was racing. You can actually have a look and see if your heart was racing and how high did it get up to, and, you know, how frequently is it going up. I went through a period where I was going up in heartbeats every night because I was trying to reduce the body function movements, kind of tics and convulsions and all that good stuff just before bed. That would happen every night. And I was trying to transition to get rid of that. And instead, my body chose to then, and I don't know why, of course, is start with the heart rate. And my heart rate would race every night before. Thank God that has now subsided. But the tics are back. That's FND. It's amazing and fascinating, but I won't get segued. So this is where I found, like, with the Oura Ring, what's great is the ability to kind of keep a track. And the other brilliant feature that I found is, like, right, because you need to do a couple of months. You need to do a couple of months of actually, sorry, Micro's going crazy in his free time while I record this, which I'm going to have to, no, he's having too much fun. One thing that you do need to do is you do need to actually spend a couple of months where you let it track. You let it track, you tag things, and you kind of let it kind of capture and get a baseline for your health. I did this for several months, and then I was like, my husband was like, come on, are you getting the most out of this? Are you really making the most value out of the capability? And so I let it run for a couple of months, and then what I did is it actually has inbuilt AI capability, which means basically I can go in and tap into the data that I have in there. I thought I had to extract it and then put it into something like Gemini or ChatGPT, which is also kind of an AI crunching tool. But you don't have to. It actually does it. You can do it in the app itself. And I was able to do that, and actually then, so these are the learnings that I've had. I've had, like I said, I have done the Whoop before I did this Oura, and I got really put off because it was really intense and I was taking it all verbatim. So I was like looking at the data and going, oh my God, the numbers are horrific. I'm going to die. A bit of an exaggeration, but you know, some days I feel like I'm going to pass out because I've walked up a flight of stairs, or I've gone up a hill like in this park, or I've walked up, 6 stairs. And again, our bodies are slightly tweaked now. So it's really important to take the data and interpret it as someone with FND. Monitor it. Of course, if there are vitals that are really like nosediving, speak to your doctor. Use this information. Like I said, use it with other apps that you might be using, like Neurolog, and be able to actually have documented data to support the way that you're feeling next time you have that doctor's appointment. I honestly find with my FND, like really half the challenge is being able to provide the data that will support the way I'm actually feeling. Anyway, I hope this helps. Please share your ideas, share your comments, share what tracker you might be using. Thank you. Take care. Bye. As always, guys, I'm no health professional, so make sure that you do interpret my guidance and any of course, your health tracking details. If you are concerned, if you are having significant issues with your health, please make sure that you check in with your medical practitioner. Always take care, step at a time. Please help join us in changing the narrative and the stigma around FND. Stronger together, guys. Bye.